period blood is gross because it's blood. And also I wouldn't want to consume any. But my character from before,
Aaron got up and left, and I'm gonna leave too. Bye.
No, Josh, let's really drill down into this character, Count fucking Savignon. Tell us all about how much you love to drink period blood.
It's like other blood, but not. You can eat while eating out.
From Milan, that's the monster dough. Monster Giuseppe Hill, that's the monster show. Young Money is the Rasta and a monster crow. And I'm pull up in the bank with a funny face. And if I'm fake, I ain't noticed cause my money ain't.
Welcome to My Brother, My Brother's Friend and Me, a podcast where two ex-evangelical siblings and an ex-Catholic non-sibling watch Christian media and either praise or condemn it. I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Michael.
And this week on Michael's Spooky Season, we watched the 2019 arthouse horror film Midsommar.
Sorry to interrupt. I am Dracula. This is being filmed on All Hallows Eve. I want to suck blood, I do. This is the spooky episode.
Josh warned us about this earlier, and he didn't give us enough of a warning, because I didn't think it would be like this.
Nope.
Oh, God. Okay, before we spend summer at our pagan cult commune compound, please be sure to like and comment this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter at MBMBFandme. Michael, I don't know how you can follow that up, but please take over.
I mean, so let's talk a little bit about this film before we get into the plot. So originally, Ari Aster, when he was making this film, pitched it as a slasher film. And that was kind of his original idea. But then as it developed, he actually personally went through a breakup, and slowly but surely the film became about a breakup.
Oh, no. I dislike this movie 20% more now.
The same thing actually happened with me with my history final not that long ago, where I was like, yeah, George Washington and manumission and his will, and then I'm like, Martha, that bitch.
So I have to be honest, I have never seen this film before I made all three of us watch it. And he has a mixed record for me because I did not like Hereditary. Please Don't Come For Me, horror movie Twitter. I did not like that film. I thought it was vastly overrated. This film, on the other hand, I loved. This was a great time. So for those of you who don't know, this is truly it is a horror film and an art film in one. But primarily it's a breakup film. Really, truly, at its heart, it is a film about a breakup.
It's also another one of those movies that I believe was made for me to not enjoy, but have to go, alright, it's really well made. I'm not having a good time.
Yeah, again, I'm with Josh on this one. I hated basically every moment of this movie, despite the fact that I appreciate that it's a pretty good film. The experience of watching it was so uncomfortable. I don't know why people watch horror movies.
Michael, why do you? I will never understand, movies like this that are good. Why watch it?
Because it's good?
No, because a bad horror movie, the best movie we have watched in this was Demon House.
Disagree.
But I want to watch Demon House again. I want to show other humans Demon House. I don't want to watch any of these other movies again.
Wow.
I think Josh is completely right. Like, Demon House is like a thing you can do with a group of friends and be like, let's laugh at this dumb idiot. This is not something you can be like, hey, everybody, let's get drunk and watch this movie and it'll be a fun time. Because if you do that, it'll be a bad time and you'll all be like, well, I guess I'm leaving now. I don't want to hang out with Josh anymore. Like,
Yeah, that is how all of my parties end.
So I have to disagree. I think this...
That's
Like-
not how my parties end.
So you mean to tell me that neither of you would get friends together and watch The Exorcist?
No! I did that once, and it wasn't fun.
Oh my god. I would 100% get people together and watch The Exorcist.
I know you because you're a freak. The only fun part about watching The Exorcist is going, that dude kind of looks like Rocky, right? And everyone going, yeah. That's it.
Except set before Rocky.
Yeah, it's the Rocky prequel. Like, actually, when he falls through the window, he gets up and, like, his face just can't talk for some reason. I have a box. That's my Stallone. Guys, look up. You can't see any of the stars. All of them are recording with us right now.
no, please. If that's your Stallone impression, we're gonna have a long night.
Yeah, I love that we're getting impressions, but I guess I'm going to start taking us through this film, which I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed, and apparently I was the only one.
Yeah,
so
that's the bit.
that more or less has been this month of my picks, though Aaron got to admit that The Witch was great.
The Witch was a
I'll
good
take
movie.
victories
That
where I
was a
take it.
good, like, pretty fun movie. This was in no way fun from beginning to end, as we'll start with right now.
Yeah, I mean, so we open with the amazing shot with the mural that basically shows you the plot of the film. And if you look closely at the mural, you literally see everything that you need to see.
It kind of reminded me of, you guys know how Romeo and Juliet just opens with, hey, this is exactly what's going to happen for the rest of this bad play. All right, goodbye.
I mean, listen, the Greek chorus has been around since, like, theater existed, so, like, I don't feel too bad about criticizing them being like, hey, here's what's gonna happen. I was like, oh, this is probably what's happening, I can't really tell what these distinct images are, and then I saw somebody, like, shaving their pubes off, and I was like, man, I hope that's not a plot point, and it is, so...
So if you let's go ahead and tag ourselves in this little mural, because I know exactly who I am in this mural. I'm the little evil son. And I'm going to drop a link in our chat so you two can tag yourself.
I believe I am the one skeleton in the very back playing the drums.
I love that for you.
I think I'm the guy in the tree who's just sort of looking down on everyone. The little foppish man.
I love the idea of Aaron just sitting up there writing notes about what's going on.
They're never gonna believe this shit. Scribble, scribble, scribble.
So I love the mural. I love that, Greek chorus trope, and I like that they kind of did it in a different way. And doing the mural is a cool way to do it. So then we get our creepy Scandinavian singing on a cute little picturesque background of a bunch of, snow. And then we see shots of Danny calling her parents. And Danny is our protagonist and also is the only good character in this film.
The titular Midsommar.
There are a couple side characters that are not terrible, but we'll talk about them later.
Yes. Danny is, I should amend, the best character in this film. She is the purest.
I don't mind Danny's parents.
Yeah, fair.
Well, that will be a problem shortly, so...
So she's leaving a voicemail, and, I know enough about this film that it was hard for me to know if I just saw the twist coming or if I already knew about them. So I, in my notes, was like, oh, they're deaf dead. Obviously. And sure enough, yes, her parents are dead. Her sister had a, psychotic break, more or less, and set up the car in the garage to basically carbon monoxide poison everyone.
Yeah, we should talk about this. So, we see this conversation between Danny and her awful boyfriend Christian, who, as soon as I saw his name, I was like, oh, he's the antagonist in this movie. But, like, it is a very bad thing to do to start your movie with a bipolar person murder-suiciding their family. Like, that sucks. I understand. I mean, I think it makes an interesting plot point because it sets, Florence Pugh's character in this, it sets you in that mindset of like, wow, this is a person who has experienced like just unimaginable tragedy. We should not portray people with bipolar disorder as being like about to murder their family at any point in time.
Yeah, it didn't add anything. That's the part that I was really frustrated with, right? Like, it wasn't even like something artfully or smartfully done. It just was like, oh yeah, she's bipolar and obviously had a mental break, and that's that. It's like, well, okay.
I thought it would have been like way, way more tragic and also like less shitty if it was just a suicide attempt that like
if it was an accident
happened. Yeah. Like she had no intention to do that and that happened. Like that would have been it would have been rough, but like
I feel like the reason they did this is because they set up this conversation that Danny has with Christian, because she keeps calling him and she's like, I'm really worried about my family, and he's just like, babe, you just let your sister with a mental disorder walk all over you. She's only doing it for attention, which like is an effective way of showing how this is obviously the worst character in the film. But like, I would have rather just, I mean, he does some awful shit later on, so like I don't think it was necessary.
It was like it was the equivalent of like attempting to do a layup, like a very easy basketball, just get the ball in the hoop, super simple, but also stepping on someone's face to do it, to get you that extra like half an inch up. Like you didn't need to do that for that very simple thing to occur.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was very easy that you could just, I don't know, not do that.
Yeah. To quote this great podcast, they just don't. It did this also give you, like, you guys are going to be very upset with me with this next sentence. It does follow in the same footsteps of Velocipaster, where the main character's parents, their death is a pushing off point for them to leave the country on a fun journey.
I guess I wouldn't use Velocipaster as that point of comparison for that trope, but sure.
It's the hero's journey.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be a useful comparison to say they fridged the parents, but
Joseph Campbell's Velocipaster shows us.
All right. So then I actually think that they jump from one of the worst portrayals of mental illness to one that is actually pretty decently done, where they show Danny's dissociative moments, where, she's like tuning in and out of people's talking. And like in that moment, I just knew, oh, wow, she is going to like eat the shit out of every scene she's in and steal the show, because this actress just so heavily portrays this moment with these like quiet, subtle changes of facial expressions. It's really cool.
Yeah, I have to admit up front, sometimes I'm going to refer to the character Danny as Florence because the name of the character the name of the actress is Florence Pugh. I thought that this was the same Florence as the one who sings in Florence and the Machine.
Wait, what?
So
why?
I thought that I was like, oh, Florence Pugh, from Florence and the Machine. That makes sense.
Did you also think the Italian city Florence was also the same Florence in the Machine?
No. It was just these two. I just assumed. I have no idea why.
I love that so much.
Anyway, there's gonna be sometimes there's just some like Florence and Machine references in my notes that are completely blown out of the water now, which I'm very disappointed in myself about.
Aaron actually did call us before and went, guys, I can't record. And we're like, today? And he was like, no. In general, it's all gone.
I
all
did
my
a bad
notes.
job.
I goofed real bad, guys.
So we see Christian being an asshole boyfriend. He wants to break up with Danny. His friends all want him to break up with Danny. And then this awful thing happens, and he's like, feeling something that's adjacent to guilt. It's not guilt. It's not even empathy. It's just one of those, I know it's going to look bad if I do the bad thing. It's really gross, and he's really gross, and I don't like most of his friends.
I did not enjoy hearing my name used so many times.
Well, it's okay because we could just call that character Chidi, because William Jackson Harper plays Josh in this movie, and I was like, nah, this is Chidi Anagonye from The Good Place, and I will refer to him as such.
Yes. He's so, I love him.
He's a great
I saw
actor.
him, and I love Chidi so much that I instantly was like, oh, this guy's good and fun and wholesome, right?
Nope.
So we learn that Christian and his friends are planning this fun little cute week vacation to, where were they going in particular? They were going to Sweden. And Danny's like, I don't really want to be alone right now. Don't know how smart that is. And they basically begrudgingly invite her.
Well, the thing is that, they go to this party later on, right? And that's where she learns about this trip to Sweden that Christian never told her about. And then, when they get back from this party, they have this conversation, and it's just like, so, when were you going to tell me about this? And then he's like, I did tell you, yeah, I mentioned it. And, it just really brings out the character. This guy sucks so bad. What I was about to say earlier was that, do you all think he's a sociopath? Because, I think you can read it like that, because a lot of times in media we see sociopaths as fucking serial killers that are cool and calculated and just real Hannibal Lecter types, but this guy's a dumb sociopath, I think.
Yeah, and there's a pretty remarkable statistic that upwards of about 1/10 of men can be considered sociopath and end up passing the sociopath test. And I definitely think that he passes the sociopath test.
Yeah, he sucks, and he reminds me a lot of, people my friends have dated, and I just hated it. I instantly wanted him to die.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's very much clearly the villain here. I love that they named the villain Christian. I think there's a lot of meaning behind that. And so Danny's going to come with them, much to their chagrin. They don't want her to join. The friends all hate Danny because she's a buzzkill, because all she talks about is her dead family.
She cries so much. It's so annoying. I just want to see the Swedish milkmaids. Who's the fucking Michael Cera evolution guy?
Mark?
Oh.
Mark, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So there's Mark, who looks like if Michael Cera got older ever.
If he digivolved.
Yeah, essentially, yes. If there's Chidi, played by William Jackson Harper, and then there's Pella, which is the only good guy in the friend group, who is the guy inviting them to Sweden. They're going to his family's celebration, because he's from this weird secluded society.
Yeah, and I mean, they refer to it as a commune, right? It's the kind of thing that if a friend of mine said they were going to, I would be like, no fucking way. You're in a cult.
I will say that it kind of reminded me of when I just described some things that I did in Southern Baptist culture to non-Southern Baptists. And they give me a look like, you good, man?
What's your favorite of those? Because my favorite is definitely speaking with tongues and slayed in the spirit. When I explain that to people,
Y'all are so fucking weird.
Love the Christian flag. The fact that I pledged allegiance to it 2 times a week, unironically, drives people insane.
Listen, at least Catholics only eat bodies and drink blood. That's normal compared to that weird shit.
No, that's just fucking metal.
It is pretty metal and incorrect.
So we see that Danny actually leaves her Ativan home, And that's no good. So she's going on this trip with a hostile group, and she doesn't have her anxiety medication. So this can't possibly go wrong. So when they get there, the first
Would
thing
you-
that
Do you want to just want me to give a pass at the name? Because I've got the Wikipedia article up just to like keep track along with you. Do you want me to just do one of my classic Joshua Green is good at pronouncing words and just give this off the dome, here's where they're going?
Oh, sure. I love that for you.
They're going to Herga in Hosinglandland.
That's not even close. But-
Okay, well, you tell me what the E over top of the A is supposed to be.
Look, I'm not pretending like I can, but just a quick little hover over says that in English, the region they're going to is often referred to as Helsingia.
Well, here at my brother's friend and me, we won't tell you how to do it right. We'll tell you the incorrect ways you shouldn't do.
So they end up landing and going to this like secluded meadow, and they have some like really cool shots in this film where everything's upside down. And I love those shots, and they actually like were kind of dissettling, and at least for me, made me feel a little uncomfortable.
I did turn my rotate lock on my tablet on and just flip my tablet around.
I mean, that was obviously like an intentional like filmmaking technique.
Mhm.
Like I was wondering, like, did it represent like, entering like, through the looking glass? Because like like obviously it means something. I just don't know what it means.
What if it wasn't? They just goofed him up in the editing process.
Well, because of the way it's shot and because of how slowly they turn, I doubt that. I feel like it's
They're really
like,
bad at editing.
I feel like it's almost the most literal explanation. Their worlds are being turned upside down. Like,
Oh yeah,
Oh my god.
sure.
I hate stuff like that. It's like, do you want me to watch you jerk off, director? Like, is that what you want?
in some films, but
that was their last one.
so Christian's friends all meet up with Pele's friend from this commune who has mushrooms for them. And they are all offered some psychedelics. Danny is like, I think I should get settled. And like, yeah. And Christian's response is, no, I want us to trip at the same time. And it's like, or you could just go do what you want to do and leave her alone. So they peer pressure her into doing it. And Danny, because she's nice, she agrees. And she gets made this tea to drink while they're all actively consuming. And let's talk about their trip for a minute.
Yeah, so I mean, we start with fucking Mark, who immediately freaks out, which unfortunately I found the most relatable. I was like, yeah, this is probably what I would be doing. She's like, I need everyone to lie down right now.
I loved like Danny quietly like seeing some really creepy things like the grass growing through her feet, seeing like the tree pulsate and breathe as they described it. It just that was all really interesting to me. And she is having a ton of anxiety, and honestly, can you blame her? This feels like a kind of bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, and the film also, it's very interesting, but like basically every shot in this film is in like full sunlight. So like it's a very strange thing because like when they starts this trip, like it's getting to be like 8 p.m. ish, but like the whole time it's just like the sun is out because they're so north, like you don't really get darkness like the way we do where we live. And I find it very unsettling that they have all these like very trippy, like kind of terrifying sequences with it's like the brightest horror film I've ever seen. And we start getting this here where Danny's just like, wow, this is bad and I don't like being here. And then Mark says this thing like, he's like, you guys are just like my family. And that sets her off and she's like, I gotta go.
Yeah, and like honestly, I think the fact that this film is so well lit is one of my favorite things about it. Like, it doesn't rely on shadows and like obscuring the horror. It really shows it to you all in broad daylight.
Man, I can't tell if I want to be genuine or goofy. I want to do both. Ha! It's well lit while they're getting lit. I don't really think I believe. Like, I don't like the fact that the sun can always be out. I don't like that, and I think we should try to fix it.
What is your plan to fix the sun being out?
I am an ideas guy. I'm not the plan guy.
Okay.
So I'm here to give us our mission, and then that's up to society.
You're
to
like
really
the
figure out
Elon
from
Musk here.
yeah. Give me some weed, and I'm gonna call a scuba diver a pedophile. That's what I bring to the table.
Well, okay.
I hate
So
Elon Musk so goddamn much.
he's a monster. Speaking of monsters, let's go back to Danny's experiences with Christian and his friends. So Danny wakes up and apparently has been pissed out, or passed out, not pissed out. I was
Different
combining
movie.
passed out and pissed off because she is both of these things, and I would be too. She is pissed off because she's been passed out for 6 hours and no one even bothered to, like, I don't know, tell her, help her out, do anything for her, go looking for her, because she had run off during her bad trip. And yeah, I would be really fucking annoyed.
Well, she's getting in the way of boy time. It's just the boys trying to have the time with the boys. I hate everyone in this fucking movie.
I don't hate Danny.
No, I don't hate Danny. She's really, like, I do genuinely, as someone who suffers from anxiety, I did relate to many scenes in this movie. But God, did the boy time really frustrate me. And that's not, you boys know me. I love me some boy time. I am all for just boys being boys with their boys. I hated these boys.
Yes.
You try to understand what that sentence means, because I don't even know.
So I think we can just say a theme of my picks this month have been men are trash, and that is what every film has taught us.
Yeah, Michael, as evident of everything in his life, hates men.
I mean, like, I
Obviously.
texted you all, like, about this. I was like, I think horror is a genre that was designed, like, for women to show men how terrible and awful they are.
And they just haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah.
So they keep making horror. Like, no one likes horror movies. It's just women trying to be like, they've got to get it this time, right? Right?
False. I love horror movies.
No one likes horror movies.
So they get up from their little mushroom nap and they arrive at the commune. They're handed drinks, and this is where I put Cottagecore the film, because we get all these like idyllic little scenes of this like cute rural, like very Scandinavian, almost like Viking esque setting, and I'm really into it. I would want to go there if I didn't watch the rest of the film.
I'd still give it a shot.
Nope.
That's why you're the most likely to die in a horror film.
I mean, like someone's gonna die, right? Someone's gonna die if you go. It might not be you.
No, it will be me. So that's why I'm not going.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Aaron. You're.
It
talk about
won't be me, but I will end up being the May Queen, and that will take a lot of explaining if I ever want to try to go home.
Yeah.
So we realize, oh, Christian forgot it was Danny's birthday that she mentioned in the film. I myself had not forgotten that it was going to be Danny's birthday on this trip. And she's a fictional character and I exist in real life. So I am a better boyfriend than Christian.
Oh, that's rough. Oh, God. It's so fucking frustrating. And like the way that they introduce it is like they have Pella give her this drawing because like Pella is like he's like a good artist guy, and he's like, oh hey, happy birthday, Danny, and she's like, oh thanks, and then she brings up the fact that like Christian like probably forgot, and he's like, Pella's like, oh, shit, whoops. And then she's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And then like Pella goes and like tells Christian like, hey dude, it's your fucking girlfriend's birthday. And then like uh, he like takes her out of whatever like weird, they're doing some sort of tour. And he's like, hey, happy birthday. And he has like a fucking Twinkie and it's got a single candle in it, and he's just like trying to light this candle, and it's like maybe 30 seconds of him trying to get the lighter to work. And then like you can see Danny just like, she's like, oh, this is kind of nice, and then she like very like over the course of that 30 seconds she just like her face squishes down into a frown. She's like, it's fine, just you don't have to light it, just thanks, I guess.
I mean, it's awful. And this next scene, and I love how like seamless it goes. We get another tapestry with another prediction, and this is the one that was aforementioned about the woman cutting her pubes into a drink that she fed to a man. So we get it backwards. So we see the drink first, and then we see her making it. And we're really led to believe this is some sort of like love potion thing that they're creating. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. So they're shown to their room, and there's beautiful art everywhere. And we start hearing about kind of some of the things that they think about life. So in this particular room is where people spend their quote unquote summer of their life. And so let's break that down a little. So spring is ages 1 to 18. Summer is ages 18 to 36.
Hell
Fall, yeah, that's where we're at. Our summer.
It definitely feels like the summer of our lives on October 31st, 2020.
And then, of course, there is fall, which is 36 to 54, and then winter, 54 to 72.
The MILFs.
And Danny asks, what happens at 72? And he laughs. Their tour guide laughs.
Well, and he also, like, draws his fucking finger across his throat, and everyone's like, ah, that's funny. And then they mention that they're going to watch an Atastupa the next day, and Chidi Anagonia is like, oh, we're going to watch that? Whoa, that's cool, because he's doing, like, all the shitty guys are, like, I want to say PhD students, so, like, they're all doing their theses, and he's doing his thesis on the Midsommar here, and, like, he's like, oh, yeah, I know what it is, and everybody else is like, oh, what is it? What is it? He's like, you'll find out. Like it's like a cool, big, fun thing that they're all gonna do.
Well, and Danny even asks if it's scary. And I love that she asked that. So shall we talk about the Atastupa now or later? Because I have some historical fun facts about it.
Well, I think one thing I want to say is that I was not expecting the Atastupa, I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, to be the current administration's COVID response, so that's fun.
You know, honestly, I feel like the Atastupa is at least more honest.
Yeah, we're gonna kill you, we're just gonna be honest.
And arguably more humane.
I feel like we should say the scene first and then give the historical background.
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds great. So it is just such a cool moment for Danny to be like, is it scary? And so we see that they explain that the babies in this tribe, everyone does their part in raising them. And we're sitting at a table having a meal. And what I love, too, about everything being so lit is you actually really don't know what meal they're sitting down for. Is it lunch? Is it breakfast? Is it dinner? It could be any of those. And so these two old people get up and start muttering and chanting. They're carried away in their chairs by people in blue. And they're all led to this open area below a ledge. And I actually knew this particular scene was coming. This is like one of those parts of the film that you've probably seen at least somewhat, if you've seen anything from it.
My favorite is the one with hacky sax played underneath of it.
So the old person gets up, cuts their hand, and smears blood on this rune, and Danny is really perturbed. She looks up and sees someone on the ledge, and it is the old woman from earlier. The lady makes eye contact with Danny, jumps, and she dies instantly, and we see every single bit of it.
It's gory. Like,
It was rough.
it was, like, okay, content warning, we're gonna get into anatomy real quick.
Yeah, this is
boat-
going to be very content, like...
I'm going to try to sprinkle in some more classic Josh goofs to just help y'all through it.
The bones of the human face and skull, right? Your skull's
Already
generally
hating
pretty
this.
strong, right? Because it comes together when your skull grows into like these big, plates. Your occipital bone back here and your like parietal and temporal bones. They're all very big and strong and sort of like, they fuse together into like 3 or 4 solid big plates. The facial bones, however, are just a fucking jigsaw puzzle. They all sort of fuse together at different points, and they're not very big, not very dense. So when this poor woman's face hits the rock, it deflates like a beach ball, and it's awful.
And it doesn't feel... It feels like roughly what would happen if you jumped face first from that height onto a rock.
Yeah, like...
Only one way to find...
Well, no.
Here on Mythbusters, we've got a cabbage
No,
with a
thank
face
you.
on it.
Yeah. This is... So I feel like this is... None of the movies so far, until this point, had, like, kept me awake. Midsommar is the first movie we watched that, like, kept me from sleeping. Largely because I just kept thinking about, like, how realistic and awful this, like, makeup work was. Like, that whatever dummy they used. Like, it was... I was like, that's probably pretty accurate about what would happen if you fell from 100 feet and just exploded your head.
Actually, Michael, fun fact, much like Exorcist, they actually just yeeted an old woman right off the cliff.
I mean,
And she did survive. Yeah,
she
was
lived
fine.
to tell the tale.
Yeah.
So Danny's response is pure shock, and she completely dissociates. The group starts freaking the fuck out, which of course they do. And then the old man jumps. But he didn't quite finish the job.
He botched it.
He broke both of his legs, but he's still alive and he's groaning. And so then the crowd starts like mimicking his groans and his like pain. And we see this guy leading this pack with this giant fucking mallet. And
It's so ominous.
It's so ominous, and if you don't know what's gonna happen, you know what's gonna happen.
It's extremely implied.
It did give me real big, like, anime villain vibes. It is a big fucking mallet. The only way it could have felt more anime if a, like, 18-year-old girl who weighs 100 pounds had it.
Exactly.
So that doesn't happen, but what does happen instead is they smash this guy's head in, and we see it up close several times.
Well, also, they take turns, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I think it's people, like, from presumably, like, the other stages of their lives, right? The fall, summer, and spring months, like, different ages of people just, taking the hammer, just smashing him in the face until he dies. Sucked to watch. Hated it.
Yeah, not a good time. Thanks, Michael.
So much like our group, their group's freaking out, but a little fun fact about this whole ordeal. So it's been pretty well documented that in many cultures around the world, things like this or this exactly happens. And Atastupa in particular is likely to have happened. However, most of the sources on it are Christian sources talking about like Norse traditions. So take that with a big old grain of salt, because we all know Christianity would never lie to you, especially systemically.
No, Grendel is just a spawn of Cain. And that's what the Norse believed.
Yeah, because the Norse gave 2 shits about a town across the other side of the world.
Yeah, they cared a lot about Christian canon.
Definitely.
But yeah, like, we don't know as many details. We don't know very much about this, but it is pretty much well documented in both Sweden and in Japan, where, like, they
Yeah.
will just go ahead and dump people. Well, in Japan, they just dump you on the side of the mountain. They're like, wolf will get you or something. Whereas
well, Japan's got a weird, like, I want to be careful with how I explain. I'm okay with explaining it. It's a bit strange of a concept of like, a lot of times the elderly would just go, oh well, I'm no longer being like productive for my family. That's it. See y'all later.
And that's more or less what this is, right? Like,
yeah,
they explain that this whole ritualistic of death is you're giving back to the earth. You know, don't have to go through like the mental decline and everything that comes with age. So me personally, I plan on living a very long life. So 72 just feels awfully early. Like, I'm just getting warmed up.
72 is not that old, y'all. Like,
no.
Maybe these folks don't have like medicine or whatever, but
I do love the idea of like a group of people sitting in a room and being like, what's the most humane way to die? Jump off a cliff? Yeah. Okay.
So our two friends that I forgot to mention were introduced, Simon and Connie, who are also two people in this film that I like and enjoy. They want to leave. They're like, nope, we're not doing this.
Yes, this is, yep. I was like, oh, Simon and Connie, those are me. Because Simon is, he's a light-skinned, I think he's a black person, and Connie is a Desi woman. And, like, they're both like, well, gotta go. Because, like, one of the elders is like, oh, Ingmar, you didn't warn them? And then I was like, no, that's why they're all having a full-blown panic attack, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can't really blame them.
I do like that even people in the village were like, oh, they needed some prep. This is weird. We acknowledge this is weird.
Right, well, it just objectively is. And so Danny walks, like, she starts crying and starts, like, breaking down and, like, really, I think the weight of everything kind of hits her. And we get to see Christian arguing with his friend, not Cheaty, but is Cheaty. I can't think of his real name. Josh.
It's me.
Well, I'm just going to refer to him as not Cheaty.
Thank you.
They want to do the same thesis on this that Christian literally only picks up after Josh has mentioned it.
Here's the thing, is that, like, the film opens with Josh being like, hey, man, you really should, like, pick your thesis. Like, it's been, like, so long. And, like, Josh has been working on it this whole time. And then Christian's like, oh, well, after I watched two people get their whole fucking heads exploded, I think that's rad. And now I want to do this. And you know what, Josh? I'm willing to collaborate with you on this. And it's just like, oh, this fucking guy.
Ugh, he's the worst.
As someone currently working on, not a thesis, but it is a very substantial history project, if someone in that class just fucking swooped my piece, I would scream until it was time to push me off the cliff.
I don't blame you for that one. It is just so infuriating, and like Christian comes in like it was his idea and like he has any sort of moral high ground. And you know, I'm with Danny because she starts packing. She's very obsessed with Pele. She wants to leave. He says that he was most excited for her to join them and gives her a stone to sniff, which is very, very strange.
Y'all never did that? Y'all never gave someone you liked a sniffing stone?
Nope. Can't say I ever have. And then he also starts mansplaining grief to her.
My note here is just like, oh, okay, like, this is probably a situation in which, like, not, especially, like, a lot of women, but I'm sure all of you have been in as well, where it's like, oh, someone's going to be a complete idiot about something to me, and, like, they're going to keep talking no matter what I do, so I'm, like, you should just be like, okay, yeah, definitely, until they leave you alone, and then you have to run as fast as you can away from them.
Yeah, but then he asks her a very important question.
Do you want to live deliciously?
I mean, absolutely. The only way to live. But he asks her something else. He asks if she feels held by Christian and if he feels like home. And I love that line. I think it's so good. And Danny doesn't answer.
I will say that this is the line that pushes my significant other to like really enjoying this movie. Just the "do you feel held by him" is something that like I think it's a good line. Like it's not. It's saying a very cliche thing in a surprisingly non-cliche way.
Well, and it feels fresh, and it also feels like, oh, we all know a yes or no to that, right? And the fact that Danny couldn't say yes, I feel like is indicative of how bad her and Christian's relationship is. And Christian, after seeing the corpses of the old people, just burnt now because that's how they get rid of them. Christian's like, Danny, you just gotta acclimate.
Like, because this is the part where she's like, hey, I want to go home. Please, let's go home. And he's like, no, I mean, that was really, really shocking. But, like, and it's just, he is such a huge piece of shit at every, like, he has literally nothing he does is redeeming.
No. And Danny's next thing where she asks Josh for a sleeping pill is also very relatable because there's no way I would be able to just go to sleep on my own after seeing something like that. So
one of my few talents that God bestowed upon me was the ability to sleep anytime, anywhere, after anything.
I could not and never have been able to.
So you'd be asking for a sleeping pill if y'all had a nice dinner with these kind people.
Yeah, 100%. So Danny wakes up to everyone sneaking out. And she looks on as the group drives away and then breathes out smoke from her mouth. And
she's huffing on that cotton.
I mean, she very clearly is having nightmares about all the deaths. She sees she sees the old people dying again, but then she also sees her family and her sister, her parents and her sister, all at the stones as if they died there too. And it's that moment you're like, oh, this is all a dream. She feels abandoned by these people and probably feels like death herself.
Well, I think I don't know if this was mentioned before, but like Simon, like the one guy, like he went to go like leave, right? And then later the cult people were like, "Oh, hey, Connie," because Connie is his partner. Okay, so Simon, yeah, like they had to go because like it was only there was only like room on the truck for two of us, so we had one of them just drive him to the train station. But he said he would wait for you there, and then you can come tomorrow. And then like Christian and Danny get in a fight because Danny's like, wow, I can't believe Simon ditched her. But then she's like, that sounds like something you would do to me. And then Christian gets all offended, even though she's 100% correct. And like, that's what sparks this dream. But it also leads into the next scene.
Yes. So, Connie is leaving. She left. And wait, while Danny's having her nightmare, is that when we see the redhead from the village putting the little... Okay, so we see the redhead from the village who's been, like, making eyes at Christian, slip something under his pillow. And, that's kind of weird.
She's the tooth fairy.
So, Pele explains that it's... I don't know if he does right now, but he explains that it's like a love rune, basically.
He explains it because Josh like finds it under Christian's bed. He like asks Pella about it. He's like, hey, what is this? And she's like, oh, well, maybe because I think that girl is like related to him somehow. I think it's like his sister. But she's like, oh yeah, it looks like she's got kind of a crush on Christian. Weird. Mm.
Yeah.
I love the idea of them just being like, weird. Yeah, he sucks. Just everyone acknowledges that he's the worst.
Yeah. I mean, obviously. And Pele says that Josh is allowed to write his thesis on the ceremony only if he shares it with Christian. And I'm like, I get what you're trying to do, dude, but like, Christian's an asshole. Don't give him anything.
I don't. This fucking liberal. Like, fucking middle of the road. Both sides have valid points. I hated it.
But we all have a friend who's like Switzerland and will be so diplomatic in arguments. And you know that Pele is that friend that never has taken a side in a friend fight and is always trying to mediate it.
Yeah. He is the undecided voter.
Yes.
Pele is the Ken Bone of Midsommar.
Yes. So we learn a little bit about their traditions. So this little tribe / commune has oracles that have been purposely inbred so that they can be unclouded. The words that they use, and they see things for what they are. And their current one is this person who's just like drawing pictures all the time that the elders are set to interpret. And, you know, my first response was, that doesn't seem like a very good form of government. But then I remembered the Electoral College and thought I should sit down and shut up.
That was actually in Jefferson's notes. A lot of people don't know this. That was his first go at nation building. Thank God we didn't go with that. We went with the much saner version.
I can't forget to mention that while this is all going on, Mark pisses on a sacred tree and makes the whole group lose their shit. And like, why? Why? You have this giant fucking meadow. They have like little bathrooms. We've seen them. Why are you peeing on a tree that's laying out there auspiciously separate from everything else? It might as well be painted bright red.
Well, Michael, you could say the same thing about Adam and Eve. It's just like you put something there and like, I know I can't pee there. I know it, but I want to pee there so bad because I can't. It's the forbidden urinal.
I mean, much like where I'm feeling right now, Connie screams in the distance, and Danny points out that she's missing. So that's very, very bad. We now are down Simon, and we are down Connie, because while this film is an art film, it just falls into the classic horror trope, and it is killing off our non-white couple.
First, yeah. It's bad. It sucks. I wanted to circle back real quick to that religious text, because like the person who is looking at those painted pages, right, is Josh, because he's doing his research, and like they describe it as the Ruby Rotter, which is like, you know, it's their religious text, and like they explain that like this is like the 19th iteration of this book, and like it's, you know, I really like this idea of like a religious text that is forever in progress. Like they keep updating it and like keep adding to their beliefs and stuff. And I think that's really interesting. And, you know, I just really like it. And also it's important later on.
I do love that is one of the founding beliefs of Mormonism.
Is it?
Yeah, the idea, I'm sure I'm getting this wrong because I've only taken like a course on it. But the idea is that like, well, if like you believe in the latter-day saints, the saints coming in the latter days.
Interesting.
We'll have to ask Jeff about that when he's on.
Yes. So Danny is not super happy with the whole fact that Simon and Connie are missing, and neither am I. And Christian is not happy because there's a pube in his food.
I do want to point out Danny was upset because she was like, this is putting forward some pretty bad racial stereotypes that exist in this medium. And like, I was like, weird fourth wall break, but yeah.
And the best part about Florence Pugh is she said all of that with just a look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all got that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And so we see Christian's, you know, he has obviously been the victim of this love potion. And so we both know what's in his food and what's in his drink.
Okay, so I know why we know it's a pube, right? Like, I know why we know that.
Yeah.
I have never... I've seen a pube before, But, like, it's just a hair. Like, I'm not saying it's not gross. I'm saying that, like, I don't know if you lined up 18 hairs in front of me if I could find the pube.
Okay, amongst Scandinavian people, I think you definitely could.
That's a good point.
We're not exactly dealing, like, it's not like they found, like, a 6-foot-long red hair that was, like, very fine and dainty, and it's like, oh, that's just, like, what happens when no one's wearing hairnets. It's...
My brain would refuse to accept that as the reality, and I would go, it's just a hair, and then continue about my day in denial.
I'm with Josh on this one. I would have been like, that weird. There's a hair in there.
Yeah.
So what would you do to explain the fact that your drink is red and everyone else's is like a clear light yellow?
I got the cool one.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually notice the drink was a different color in this one. I just noticed that he was eating before everyone else, because Christian's a fucking douchebag. Yeah, he's like, nah, I don't care that there's a hair in it. It's fine. This rules.
So I'm going to ruin this for you because in the tapestry, it shows the woman putting, you know, her period blood into this drink. So...
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, I thought it was like some sort of like FGM shit, but that's actually better than what I thought, so I'm happy about that.
Yep.
I've never heard the sentence, it was period blood, followed by, whew! What a relief.
I mean, look, at this point, maybe.
Like, period blood is gross because it's blood. And also, I wouldn't want to consume any. But my character from before! Wahaha!
Aaron got up and left, and I'm gonna leave too. Bye!
No, Josh, let's really drill down into this character, Count fucking Savignon. Tell us all about how much you love to drink period blood.
It's like other blood, but not! Ha ha ha! You can eat while eating out.
In our next scene, Danny asks for a sleeping pill, and I'll take one too, please and thank you.
I'm crying.
I think you're fired.
I think so too.
I think I want to do a vote of no confidence.
As both your sibling and a fellow podcaster.
Yep. Aaron's my brother now. Welcome to my brother and me.
Oh, I knew this day would come.
Finally, my plan worked.
So Josh sneaks into the holy place to take some sweet book pics.
I have done that many a time.
And he sees what he thinks is Mark, sneaking into this room. Well, guess what? It is not. He's hit on the head by someone who's wearing Mark's skin as a mask. And so now we're really starting to, like, have some, deaths in this friend group, and we're getting rid of them kind of, randomly, because you have the not asshole Simon and Connie, and now, we have Mark dead, which I'm not mad about, and then Josh dead, which is a bit more, neutral, give and take.
He wasn't the worst member of that friend group, so.
Yeah. And so, Josh...
Was your initial response to, like, seeing that it was, like, a mask made of human skin? My brain immediately went to, that's a really long con to just hide. Because I'm an idiot, and I thought that he put on the mask exclusively to kill Not Cheaty. I was like, he's really putting in the work to kill this dude.
Nope, that is probably not why he put on that mask and not pants. So they have the commune has their sacred book missing, and Josh and Mark are missing, and they have no idea. The group has no idea. So they're obviously being watched, and it's pretty clear they're being set up. It's pretty obvious. And But you know what? We get a fun little moment where Danny gets to join the women to choose the May Queen. And this is my favorite little stretch of the film, I think.
I think it's my favorite stretch too because like we get a break from the relentless awfulness of everything. And, like Danny gets to have like kind of a fun time.
Yeah, Danny gets to have a good time. So they're all given a tea, and it's very clearly like the same tea with the mushrooms. Um, all of the women are in circles around like this giant cross thing that, is, the maypole, but it's a fucking cross. It's very similar. Um, and so Danny again sees the grass growing through her feet. She starts hyperventilating, but she snaps to in time to listen to the rules here. And so basically the rules are everyone's dancing and the last one standing is the May Queen. And of course, Danny doesn't really understand because she's not fluent in Swedish. And so, everyone's bowing and she's like the last one to do it. And then we cut to Christian in his own room. And I really like the framing of these shots. I really like it was the only thing I liked about Hereditary, frankly, was that the camera is so low that you feel like you're watching a room and like you see the ceiling in every shot. And that's not usually a filmmaking, tactic there, but it makes it kind of feel like you're in a dollhouse.
I did like to, like, sometimes just think to myself, like, oh, I'm so little. Just whittle, woo! Just having a whittle adventure,
Okay.
I warned you guys I was going to be goofy this episode.
So Christian is asked about the redhead, the one that put her pubes in his food. Apparently they're a perfect match astrologically. And, his worries about her putting her pubes in his food are founded. That is what happened. And so then we get to cut back to Danny having a good time dancing. And I'll be honest, even though everything like really bad in this film has happened in such short succession, I kind of forgot about it when she was having a good time. I was just with Danny having a good time, spinning in circles. Like, I think she's having a blast.
I feel like some people would be like, well, how in the world could she do that? But like, we've all listened to a good song during 2020, and that's about, I think, the closest comparison.
Yeah, I feel like that's a fair one. So Danny's still in the competition, and the only one who doesn't cheer for her is Christian.
Like, why? Like, why is he so shitty?
Like, he literally cannot feel happiness for another person. And, like, she's doing what he asked her to and acclimating. And so he's offered a drink, and he's told it's spring water. He asks what it does, and he's worried that he'll have a bad trip. And, like, fair, but also, dude, you pressured Danny into taking drugs when you didn't want to, so you can't be offended that the tribe, this group, is doing the same thing that you were.
Oh, you just go acclimate.
Yeah, just acclimate. So we get to see that Danny is the winner. She ends up, spinning around as the final three, and two of the girls fall into each other, and Danny is crowned May Queen, and again, Christian is the only one not happy. Pele is, like, celebrating and, like, kisses her, and, like, it's very clear that those two have more chemistry than Danny and Christian do.
It's a very low bar, though.
Fair.
Yeah.
Like, I had more chemistry with Danny than the guy did, and all I did was watch the movie.
Yeah, that's fair. And so they lift her up and they sing a song about her, and they sit down for a meal, and they sit her at, like, the top of the table, and she has to eat an entire herring first, which is real gross.
It's the most Swedish possible thing they could think of.
Yeah, it almost felt like a little stereotypic, but in a...
Yeah, like, kinda racist, but like, or whatever.
They were like, you must eat this whole herring, and then make a meatball, and then build this IKEA furniture.
Yeah. So we see the redhead from earlier gesturing for Christian to follow her, and I said probs for sex, but we can't know that because Danny is literally carted away. I put Christian is still having a bad time. Good.
I also have LOL, finally Christian is having a bad time in my notes, so I'm glad we're all on the same page.
I love that. So he sees the redhead throwing flowers everywhere, and he's led into the holy room where everyone is naked, including the redhead, and she's in the center and has been thirsting for him the whole time.
I did have the thought, like, man, might go pick some horny movies. Like, our boob counter went from, like, 0 to a lot.
Yeah, it, like, fucking quintupled with this one film.
Yeah, I do think this film definitely pushed us over the edge.
Yeah, we gotta not... We can't see boobs for, like, 8 months now because of this.
Nah, just until my next pick. Actually, no.
Michael, the bringer of the boobs.
Actually, I think my next pick will be more PG-13. We'll see. And so they actually cut this whole, like, Christian redhead sex scene orgy thing with Danny during the May Queen ritual, and I love that they do that, and, like, you see one scene and then the other. Because I like the idea of, oh, even in this small moment, Christian cannot control himself and be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, he has every opportunity. You walk in a room and see a bunch of old people standing around naked with someone you've been horny for. I think there are questions that might preclude this.
I hate him, and I hated him through all of the movie. But this really cooked my herring. Like, I was not... Your girlfriend is going through some things, and that is an understatement. She just got picked for Miss Midsommar, and you are going to... Michael, I need you to move on, or real rage is going to show up. Because I hate this doofus so much.
He's awful. Well, this next scene isn't going to make you feel any better, because so while they're fucking, one of the women goes to comfort the redhead, because we can assume it's her first time. And she is singing to her and humming and, like, caressing her and Christian.
The vocalizing, I think, is a very interesting part of, like, this fictional cult's, like, culture, right? Because, like, the way I felt it was, like, a way for the community to sort of experience, like, the pain or the emotional estate of, like, another member of their community. Like, basically every time somebody yells in this movie, like, the rest of the cult will like, imitate it. And I think that's just kind of neat.
I do think it's pretty cool. I love that, they do it first with the man being killed, and then this time they're doing it, like, while they're having sex, and it's kind of like a cool juxtaposition of what this, cult is about.
It's less, the community aspect loses me when, like, one of the ladies goes behind Josh to, like, push him in further.
Yeah.
Or not Josh, Christian, but it's still, I didn't like
Did
it.
not enjoy that sentence. I didn't. It wasn't a good one for me.
No.
I think they lost me with the fact that they made the Oracle watch.
There's a lot of bad shit.
Yep.
You know where they lost me? Where my girlfriend just won a competition, and I'm such a doofus bad person that I want to go have sex with someone who slipped me her pubes.
Yep. So Danny hears the ritual fucking and looks through the keyhole, and she sees what's going on. She throws up and starts having a panic attack. The other women who were all participating in the May Queen ceremony with her whisk her away to her bed. She starts hyperventilating, and all the other women join her, and they follow her breathing and screaming, and it's kind of cathartic. And I actually think it's remarkable, this scene in particular, where they cut between that and the, women during this, like, ritual fucking, all, joining in with their community sounds. And it's interesting, and it also, to me, was a sign that they view Danny as one of their own. That, we haven't seen them do this for an outsider. We've only seen them do this for members of their own commune. So here, with Danny winning the May Queen, we can assume she's part of them.
Well, also, like, I feel like after she wins the May Queen, I think somebody was like, "So you're going to join the family now?" And she's like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh, awesome, sick." So, like, she is, after winning the competition, like, part of the family, so to speak.
That's also, this is similar to how we get people to join the Green family, which is we make them dance until all of us fail. You have to beat us in a quasi-dancing competition, but you just have to keep dancing.
Yeah, it's all about stamina. So speaking of stamina, Christian goes ahead and runs out of the room right after they finish up having sex, and he finds Josh's foot sticking out of the ground. Um, and he keeps running, and so then he pulls up to the chicken coop and sees Simon's body pulled into a blood eagle. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's where your lungs are pulled out from your back to give the view of a wingspan. That is something that happened in Norse culture, I would say, for
Also,
quite a while.
Also, fun Josh history fact, not just something that was used in Norse culture, it was the most painful way that they chose to kill people. Like, that was the big bad punishment that you didn't want to get. So, cool that they gave it to that guy.
Of all the people, why like I literally found myself thinking that of all the people that you're going to like grossly mutilate, why couldn't it have been Mark? Like
It
why
should have been
couldn't
Mark, yeah. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
he peed on their sacred tree that is fed with the ashes of their dead. Like, clearly this would be the one who gets blood eagled, but no, they chose the one of the other black people.
But at least they gave him flowers over his face.
Yeah, great.
They blood eagled him respectfully.
So Christian's freaked out, and someone just rolls up on him and blows dust in his face, and he passes out. He comes to with a woman explaining to him, "Hey, you can't speak, you can't move, you're paralyzed, don't try. Get used to it." And we see Danny there in like her mound of flowers, and I want it.
I knew those were going to be the words out of your mouth.
And so it's explained by this group that they need 9 sacrifices. So we're down 4 from our protagonists, if you can call them that. And the village itself is giving up 4 who have volunteered. And then Danny chooses chooses the last one. So she gets to choose between a randomly selected member of the commune or Christian. And I said I'd pick Christian.
No hesitation for me.
I'm glad that like we were all just like, yeah, it should be Christian, right? And I had my notes. I was like, oh, there's no way they're gonna have Danny pick Christian. That I mean, she's a good person, and like it would be stupid if it would be against her character if she did that, and we can't have a sad ending. But then she does pick Christian, and it rules.
This movie worked really hard to get me to like it with this last little twisty twist.
Yeah, I honestly think the fact, and I'll get to this later in like a more full thought out review here, but this movie sticks the landing in a way that like I was unsure about, even knowing like the plot beats and being roughly familiar with the outline. I thought, how the hell are they going to stick the landing? And they do. So Danny does pick Christian, and all the sacrifices are put in the same room. Most of the ones who are dead already, have like plants growing through them and being wound together. And we see, as I like to call it, Chekhov's bear. So we met a bear in the very first scene. We didn't mention it because they said not to.
It's very funny. Like they're like, "Hey, what's that bear?" And then Pele's just like, "It's a bear," and then the bear doesn't show up until this scene, which is really funny.
I love it.
It's the weirdest choice. I feel like I want to know what was the decision process with that one.
I feel like they probably shot the opening scene last. I feel like that was like probably a later addition where they were like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we introduced this bear from the end? I feel like that's like one of those post-production things. And it works.
I like to imagine that the Bears Union was like, hey, you said he would get this many minutes of screen time, and he didn't. So you gotta fix that.
So we see these kids all being taught to butcher this bear, and like remove its organs and all of that. And then Christian is put on the block with the bear. And they put him inside the body and sew him inside the body.
But they also leave an adorable little head hole so his face can poke out, which I think
Yeah.
is very funny.
I think it's hilarious.
And what he deserves.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
they put him in the room with everyone else, and it's lit on fire. And Danny watches and like is pretty unblinking. The crowd starts like singing and chanting and like joining the screaming from the inside. We see everyone, being burned alive. Some of them are dead already, but the living ones are being burned alive. Danny's coughing and she's like dragging her heavy May Queen dress away, but she looks back to the building in flames and she just is lit up with this gleeful smile. And that is the final scene of the film, looking on to this asshole man dying.
It's an incredible shot. That last scene of her just like dragging the big flower cape in front of the burning temple. It's a gorgeous shot, and then like very much like The Witch, where like we see our sad woman protagonist finally smile. It's just like, oh, this was about feminism the whole time.
I feel like the astronaut looking at the planet meme.
I mean, more or less. So there are some kind of interesting things going on here. So the end credits actually feature a credit for the concept of Hargas by Martin Karlquist and Patrick Anderson. And it is basically this Swedish producer and his friend, and they had this idea for like a Swedish horror film, and that's where this got off. And they said, hey, this isn't Swedish history, it's folklore. However, there is some basis in historical fact. So Svensson said most of this is true, saying that the mallet is actually historically, and it is a replica of a mallet from a museum they saw in Stockholm.
Why?
So
Just why, though?
yeah,
Because Anastupas were real, so they apparently did need to finish some folks off.
No. Why care about the mallet?
because why not?
I don't know. That way you can spend more time not blood-eagling minorities.
I mean, look, I agree with that. But no, I think it's a fun little thought. And so this theory, and I am really, really mad at myself for not saving it. I'll be doing some furious Googling later. There's a theory about Danny in this film, and that Danny is supposed to be 27 years old. And 27 is directly in the center of this culture's summer. So Danny is literally in the middle of her summer. Yeah. And that's why, like, one of the reasons that, that Pele was so excited to see her, that she was like the perfect one for the May Queen, that she's at the middle of the summer of her life. Isn't that so cool?
That is. This culture is very ageist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's weird, but like, I feel like the world building was very interesting. Like, I don't know how much of it was drawn from real stuff and how much, was just an invention for the plot. But like, they also mentioned like the deity they worship, this pagan god or whatever, is hermaphroditic, and like I kind of appreciate that, and I wish there were more. I guess I wish there were more examples of Western religion having hermaphroditic deities. Because I'm pretty sure there's several examples in Hinduism, but like. I just thought it was neat. Like, there's a lot of like weird, interesting details around this like completely awful to watch movie that I enjoyed.
It is such. This is. I have the weirdest feelings about this movie of any that we have watched in a while, where it's like it is good. I hated it.
It's very
You
much
know-
like Michael made us eat our vegetables. Like we watched a lot of important, like historically good horror films, and also like the whole time I was like, I want this to be over so bad.
But you know what my favorite part about this entire endeavor is done? Is that Michael can't make me eat any more vegetables for like 2 weeks.
We are cutting Michael off for a bit.
Yes.
While I may deserve to be cut off, I will defend all of my choices and say all of them, excluding Demon House, were good films.
Demon House was... Michael was like, I'm gonna make you guys eat some vegetables. And by vegetables, I mean gummy worms. And it was so nice.
So I did forewarn you. I was luring you into a false sense of security with Demon House.
Yeah, but you know me, I love me some gummy worms.
I mean, I enjoyed this experiment of Michael's spooky season. I think that you were very fair, Michael. You made us watch movies that didn't have very many jump scares in them, which I appreciated, because like that's generally the thing I hate worst in movies. It's just like,
Yes.
I think that if it's building up to the dread, like happened in a lot of these, like I think that is a much more, not, I won't say enjoyable, but like it is an experience I can appreciate more than just being like, a scary monster. So
Now,
I mean,
Aaron,
I think you were very fair.
I think we should
thank
save
you.
this. I'll save this comment till we're done with the movie and we're recapping Michael's spooky season fully. But I genuinely thought that this movie was really, really well made. Please don't make me ever watch it again.
Yeah, no, I'm never watching this shit again.
No.
I might watch this film again. I gotta be honest, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought the whole cult, like, religion idea was really cool. I thought the fact that, like, the antagonist of the film is literally named Christian. I thought, the fact that you've got a, like, matriarchal society where, like, the May Queen is the most important person, that all feels really impactful. I think the fact that this film's almost like a frame narrative of death. Like, we begin with death, we end with death, but we see it through two different lenses. I just think there's a lot of, like, really smart things about it. And my personal favorite horror films are ones that they might have a jump scare here or there, but what sticks with you is, like, the content and the build and the feeling. Jump scares to me are kind of like junk food. I love it and I like binge and enjoy, but I'm not going to really like think back and say it's my favorite meal.
I hate that you're describing something that gives me absolutely no pleasure, like junk food. Like, I'm trying to think of comparison. It'd be kind of like if I was like, 2020 is like junk food. Like, when I look back at this year, I will think, man, I'll think nothing, but like, I hate it. I hate that you said that.
Look, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. So let's start with reviewing the films, and then let's do a spooky season recap. So what was your review for this film, gentlemen?
Like a rating or just thoughts? Okay, rating. I'm gonna give this one 1 November 6th. Very important. Please God, never make me go through it again.
I'll give this the 14th station. Jesus is laid in the tomb, because this movie made me want to lie down for 3 days.
I am going to give this film 4 out of 5 bashes on the head. It's memorable. It's not always enjoyable, but goddamn if it won't stick with you.
I don't know if you get bashed in the head 4.5 times if you're gonna really remember it.
It'll be a moment you never forget.
You might not ever remember anything, actually.
Yeah. So let's talk spooky season for a second. I feel like most of the films did a good job of explaining themselves and relating with, Christianity and religion and kind of, calling that out. But I'd love to hear your all's thoughts.
Well, Aaron, this is what I was going to say before. Did this convert you to I wanted to say Christian, to a horror movie enjoyer?
No, I mean, like, the thing about... I've been thinking about this in relation to, media consumption in general, but, like, I don't really like watching or like even reading books that aren't like fantasy or sci-fi, which is, I'm not advocating that. I think that's probably a bad media habit to have, but like, I just prefer, fakey fake bullshit. And like, so I already, feel weird about horror movies. But like in the end, like I consume that kind of media because it is enjoyable and it is like escapism, whereas horror movies are just like made like if they are done well, they are not fun. And I didn't like that. I mean, again, like I think they were all like pretty good movies. Like, I mean, if we were ranking all the movies we'd watched in this podcast, these would probably all be in the top 10, possibly the top 5. So like, I'm not saying that they're bad movies. I just don't like horror.
For me, I enjoyed the process of watching something that, like, this podcast in general is this process, but this was a much more artful and good version of watching something you normally just absolutely would never watch. Like, I had no intention to ever watch Midsommar. Ever. Or Rosemary's Baby. Or Demon House. I almost missed out on Demon House, guys.
That gem.
Like,
Your new favorite film.
It's so good. I love that movie. Like, I do appreciate just dipping into a genre that, like, I don't enjoy, but, like, I can get stuff out of it still, you know? And it makes me because I am like Aaron, where I need some fantasy or some sci-fi to really get into something, because I'm a big old dweeb. And it was nice to step out of that, and I can't wait to go back into it and just hide in my little fantasy hole.
I do have to warn you, I have my next 2 picks, and neither one of them are fantasy picks, but
well, this isn't a fantasy podcast, so you're fine.
Yeah.
Well, it almost is. We talk about Christianity.
they are going to be a good time.
Roasted them. Never heard that one before.
Crushed it, Richard Dawkins.
So who is taking the reins here? My spooky season is coming to an end on Halloween of all nights. I hope I've recruited a few of you to witchcraft, and you'll live deliciously with me.
All Hallows Eve is ending, and I am banished to the Shadow Realm.
And now he's in Yu-Gi-Oh! So who's picking next?
I feel like Josh had an idea that might be a good palate cleanser from spooky season, which is that we could all talk about our deconversion stories. If you would all want to do that next week, we could do that, because that'll require very little prep. And we may or may not, need the break.
I love a cute little break in the after spooky season.
I've been looking forward to, stepping out the cast for a second while still being in the cast.
I was like, oh, are we cutting Audacity off?
No, I fully left the idea of Christianity this year, which I think a lot of people who know me would be a little surprised, because I didn't follow or practice or really believe. I just kind of held on to the word of it. Up until this year. And when I left it was a very fun, freeing moment. And I would like to talk about that, because it was a fun journey that I went on, and I'd love to see what caused y'all to do it.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting experiment, and we'll actually, talk about Christianity for once on this podcast.
Fair.
Gentlemen, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm at Green History on Twitter.
And I'm at Michael's Diamonds on Twitter.
You can find me at Twitter at AaronSXL, where I talk about Indiana's crumbling health infrastructure. You can also find me at Mortified Pod. Me and Layla are going to record an episode about the Legally Blonde movie and musical tomorrow, which are going to be fun.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
I cannot wait!
It's going to be cool.
So good. That's must-see television.
Absolutely. And also, as it is, when this episode goes out, it'll probably be on November 2nd. So, the day after that's real important, y'all. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and vote. Specifically for Joseph Gordon Biden. You can't listen to this podcast and vote for the other guy. Sorry, I'm not allowing it. I'll find you. I'll cut off your internet.
Yeah, the bears will get you.
I will sew you in a bear and choose you as my sacrifice as May Queen, because I've just been crowned May Queen.
Wait, guys. Let's step off into the little corner for a second. Is this voter suppression?
No.
No.
Okay, thank God. Okay, listen. I talk tough. I'm very scared of getting in any kind of trouble.
I am sorry, did you just like black out when there were, a bunch of people in MAGA hats waving assault rifles in Fairfax, Virginia at a polling place? This is not voter suppression.
No, but it doesn't. But it doesn't count for them because Republicans can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, no, this is not voter suppression. This is what we call an endorsement. And we are endorsing Joe Biden, not necessarily because we agree with all of his policies. I think a lot of us think that he's a little bit too moderate, but, the re-election of Donald Trump will have a direct impact on the 2 queer people and 1 non-white person on this podcast in a negative way. So, like, don't vote for Donald Trump. If that's the least you can do, so be it. But, anyway, we'll see. If the thought of Donald Trump getting reelected makes you want to cry, join the fucking club and remember that it's okay to cry because even Jesus wept. We'll see you all. We'll see you all next week. Godspeed.